No. Okay, first of all, let me introduce myself. I am Mariano Martinez Peck, in a PhD at France. Now I will talk about something nothing related at all to my PhD, but it's about Metacello. And sorry for putting a very, very bad name for the presentation because it says nothing about my talk. And actually, I will try to give like a Metacello tutorial. It won't be very theoretical or about the Metacello implementation, but just how to use it. And mostly because with Dale, we noticed that Dale is the author of Metacello, and we noticed that there are a lot of questions in the mailing list, and even if there is a follow by example chapter, and even if there is a tutorial, there are a lot of questions. So I will try to do a mini tutorial, but it will be very, very helpful if you can ask, because my presentation is short, and the idea is that you ask all the questions that you have been during the last time. So, the other title of the presentation is everything you wanted to know about Metacello and you were afraid to ask. So this is the time, so take advantage of the opportunity and ask as much as you want. The first question, and this is why everybody is confusing, is that they confuse all the different tools that we have nowadays available in Faro. For example, where we have the Monticello, the Gopher, the Metacello, and nobody understands what each of the tools does. So I want to clarify this because it's really, really important, and I think it's still confusing. There is something important that we should have one tool for each job. Usually when we want to have a tool that does everything, it does everything but in a bad way. So in this case we have specific tools for the specific concepts. So Monticello, as everybody knows, it's a control version system. It just manages versions of code. If you are used to Java, it's like CBS or SVN or to whatever, or Sheet, whatever. It only manages versions, and that's only more than that. On the other hand, we have Gopher. I shouldn't say this, but Gopher wouldn't exist if Monticello provides a nice API to talk. The truth is that Monticello it's useful, and you can use the Monticello browser to load and commit, etc. But if you want to script that and evaluate it from a workspace or to have a Hudson server or whatever that needs to talk with that, the Monticello has no API at all, and you need to write a lot of code just to commit or to load a single packages. So Lucas Rangley was tired of that, and he developed Gopher. It is just an installer. It just said, okay, load this package from this repository. It's just a scripting, it's an installer. It doesn't manage dependencies, it doesn't manage version, it just load or commit or from scripting point of view. And then we have Metacello. And this is what I'm going to talk about. Metacello is a package management system. A package management system is not only in Smalltalk. It's a concept that it has been used since several years already in different architectures, in different programming languages. And it has several features. For example, it manages dependencies because packages or projects depends on other packages. For example, it manages also to be able to release and freeze a set of versions. So if you have CSI, for example, it's okay, CSI, this package, this version, and this package, this version, etc. All of this is CSI 3.0, for example. So it groups and freezes versions so that you can after reproduce or download a set of versions that you know that all that together is stable. Because if you use Gopher, for example, you usually download all the latest versions of all packages. And that's not stable. It probably won't work in the image that you are trying. So, Metacello, most of the configuration the package management systems needs to provide some way where you can define the configuration of your project. For example, those that are used to Maven, you have the pom.xml, where you define which packages do you have in your application, which packages depend on which other packages, which version do you use, etc., etc. In this case, we also need to save Metacello all that information. But since we're in Smalltalk, where should I put that kind of stuff? In an object, in a class, of course. So we have a configuration class that will describe our project that we want to manage with Metacello. So what this configuration file, because it will be a class, but what does it contain? It contains several things, but as in the beginning, we can just say that it's a list, a set of Monticello versions for each of the packages. And I told you that projects, a complete project, may depend on other projects. For example, CSI can depend on Greece. Omni browser can depend on refactoring browser, and each of those projects has its own packages with its own dependencies. So, for example, refactoring browser core doesn't depend from anyone, but refactoring browser refactorings depends on refactoring core. So that's our internal dependency between the packages of refactoring core. But in addition, the whole project refactoring code can depend, for example, in the AST project. So you can depend on project or you can depend on packages. And we will see an example, don't worry. So you may wonder why we need Metacello. Instead of just answering, I think we can do something more useful. Most of us are programmers, and programmers are very, very bad with the physical state, and we try to play football, and we go and see, and it doesn't look very bad, but when we play another team from another university or another area of the company, we see we're really, really bad, and we don't move. So we will raise your hands to my question. Who has ever seen this kind of message when you're trying to load something from Monticello? Okay, this is the typical problem when you find something as quick source, you say, yes, this package, and you load, and boom, this package depends on this class, and this class, and this class. If you're lucky, with the prefix, you say, OB, yeah, I need, but where is this class? You don't know how to find it. There's no way. So you are screwed up. So, of course, if I am the developer of Omni browser, I know. Yes, I forgot Omni browser core. Yes, sorry, I should load first Omni browser core. But the final user doesn't know that. And okay, maybe in a little project with 2 or 3 packages, it's okay. But in big and large project, this is very, very difficult. Another situation is this one. You do something and you have deprecated. Yes, in 401.1 and is not is deprecated, so now you cannot load your code. Or when you try to load something, no, yes, the preference class was removed. Oh, fuck. So you cannot load that version. You need to go and download the previous version, because that version doesn't work where you are in. In this file image, preference is not there. So I need specific version of if packages. I need to say, okay, I need a group of stable versions. And this is what the package management system tries to solve. And I think this is the most important key for Metacello, is that it is for the users of a project. It is not for the developers. I mean, the developers knows which packages have to be loaded, in which order, which package depends on what, which version should work in each file or squig image. But the user does not. If you have to download CSI or Magma or whatever project, you go to the Monticello repository, you open the repository and you see 15 packages that you don't know which one do you need, in which order, if it depends on another project of quick source, etc., etc. And you know which version to download and blah, blah, blah. So I will start talking and I will show you a little example. So here I have file image, The first thing that people criticize about Metacello is that you have to copy a template. There's no abstract class for the configurations. This is because if we want to have an abstract class for the configuration that you want to subclass, that abstract class should be part of the core. I mean, it should be part of Shempton, or it should be part of Squeak, or it should be part of Faro. And it's difficult to have consensus and say Shempton integrate this, Squeak integrate this, and Faro integrate this. So it wanted to be flexible enough. So if we want to start, we will start with an example. Do you know who? Someone knows what is Grease? Grease? No. Well, Grease is a portability layer for Smalltalk that aims to be able to write compatibility code, and it helps you to write a program that will run on different Smalltalk dialects. So we will try to create a configuration for Grease. So the first thing that you have to do is to copy a template for the configuration. So I will just copy. You notice the class is called Metacello config template. So I can say configuration of Grease. This is a convention. It's not necessary that you put that name, but it's a convention that you usually call it the class configuration of and the name of the project. But it's not necessary. So I create the class, and that's all. Then after I can change the category if I want, for example, Smalltalks 2010. I save it. Okay, perfect. Here is my class. And once this class is created, you should notice that there are some instance methods that were in the template and now are in my class, and some class side methods but we will go further with that. So once we do this, we have to start to creating the versions for the project. I could type all by hand, but I am a lazy guy, so I will remove this class and we will use another one that I have already prepared, because otherwise I won't have time to show all I want to show. So this is the same, exactly the same. I just did the same few hours ago, and I create the configuration of Grease Smalltalks. Okay? And we will start implementing the first and simplest version possible. In this case, we will going to create a version of the project. We will going to create a method for each version of the project. So let's say that we start with the 00 version. So I create this method. It's not necessary to put any name in particular. What is important is this. This is a program, and it sets the real version number, and this is what the final user will use. But it's okay. And as you can notice, this version resides as a spec. It's a specification. All that is like a builder. All that you're going to do, you will do it using the specification. So I start a specification for common, we will see later, but this common is for all the Smalltalk dialects, because Metacello works in Shempton, Squeak, and Faro. Actually, in all Smalltalks that supports Monticello. So I can say, okay, for all of the dialects, I will specify the repository. Fortunately, Grease is committed in the C-side repository. It should be Grease if it were its own repository. But anyway, so the repository is this, and I can set a blessing. I can say, okay, this is a release, because we are releasing version 0.0. We can put a description. In the description, you usually put which bug fixes has been solved, the author of the release, and we can say a timestamp, etc. And here is the important information. I said, okay, from Grease, I need the packages, Grease core, with this particular version, and I need the packages, Grease test core, with this specific version. So this is okay, this is our first version, and when we try to load this, Metacello will try to download these two packages from those versions from this repository, and that will work. But one of the biggest ideas of Metacello is that you are able to load any packages in a minimal core image. I mean, if you're in Gemstone, in the Gemstone that you just download from the website, or from Squeak, or from Faro, you should be able to load any packages without having to install any dependency. Of course, if the developer develops a configuration that is wrong written, it won't. But you should write this in the sense that each package should be completely loaded and working in the image. So we need to say Metacello the dependencies for each package. So in this case, if I download just this package, will it work? No, because this one won't be loaded. So the test will not load. So we need to depend on that. So in our next version, we improve this a little, and we say, okay, for Faro core, I have this version, and the package Grease test core, it's this version, and requires Grease core. With this, if I just try to download this package, Metacello will also download Grease core and with this version. So with this, I solve this dependency. Okay? Yes?
Yeah, it's a question. I can guess the answer that when you said you need just one class. But why are you using primitive types and not object to say the types or the package themselves?
No.
You're using strings.
Actually, I guess it's because it was not needed yet. I guess. The thing is that this that I'm writing all by hand, there is a Y. It's a Metacello OB where you don't do this by hand. So you enter in the UI and you put your name, and the timestamp, for example, is put automatically. But it's a good question. Maybe Metacello should clarify that, or
Packages.
yes, yes, personally, or the timestamp, for example. And for example, the author, it's automatically complete with the author that you have set in the image. For example, when you do it through the UI. Okay. Okay, but notice this. If suppose now I want to release a new version of Grease, now so I need to use another version of the core and another version of the test. Should the dependency change? Should the repository change? Is that common? Is really common? No, it's not common at all. I mean, most of the times we create new versions and we don't change the dependencies. We don't change the repository. That's not common at all. So we don't want to duplicate code. So Metacello provides something that is called baselines. So look, this new version, this is 0.1, and notice that here I didn't put any structural information, just the version information. I'm saying this depends on the version. I am saying, okay, this version is a release, we have fixed this and blah blah blah, and this is the author and the timestamp, and these are the packages with this version and this version, and that's version information. It does nothing to do with the structural information. But here we are saying that this version imports this baseline. Okay? So if we now see you have to create another method for the baseline, as you may wonder. And it's the same like the other one. What is important is the pragma, and notice that this ID is the ID that the version puts. And in the baseline, we have to give and declare the structural information of the project. For structural information, I mean information that doesn't depend on the versions. For example, the repository, the dependencies, and a few things that we are going to see further on. Okay? Is that clear? Okay. So, let me check if I did all the steps I wanted to do. Click version. Yes, perfect. So we are going to the second step of the tutorial. So if we want to, okay, we have created, I am lazy again, so I have a WordPage for that. No, this one. And okay, the most important thing is not writing the configuration. And it's more how you load, because that's what final user will need. It's to download the project, to install it. So the way to do this with Metacello, one of the ways to do this, you just take the class, to the class you ask the project, and to the project you can ask for a particular version. So for example, in this case, I want to load the version 1.0. This is what you put as identifier in the pragma. Okay? And okay, I want to download this version. This answers me the version. And then to the version I said load. And that will load what we need. It will download the grid core and the grid test, and everything will be okay. So this is the easiest way to load it. Some people get tired of writing all this all the time, so they did, for example, things like configuration of grids, small talks, load, for example. Load. And then they implement the class side load that does this. So like a shortcut method. Anyway, now we are going to, I don't have time to bootstrap and everything, but if you take a Faro core image, or a Squeak core image, or Gemstone where Metacello is not installed, you will notice that the load works. I mean, if I take and I evaluate this in any image with Metacello or without Metacello, it will work. And I will show you why. If we now came back to the class, I told you that there were some methods that were in the template and that we edited from that. So if you see, there's a special class, a special method that is a little ugly, but it doesn't matter. It's called ensure Metacello, and it checks if Metacello is installed, and if it's not, it bootstraps Metacello itself. And it's funny because it does it using a configuration of Metacello. So it's it's funny. But so what I wanted to say, if you see ensure Metacello, it's called from the project method that we also edited. You see the method. If we see here, it tries to bootstrap Metacello. And this project is the method that we call when we were trying to load here. So with this, if Metacello is not, you will notice that the first time that you load the version in your image, it will take more time because Metacello is being installed. Okay? Good. Another thing that I wanted to show you is that in this method, in project, there are few other things that you can configure and tune. You can customize certain things for Metacello. You can, for example, change the load type, but this is quite deep Metacello work, so you won't change this. But you can set project attributes, that it means, okay, you can just ask something and set attributes and then use the attribute from inside the version to do if something, do things like that. Okay, so now we will do another little version, and it's another baseline. We did this one before, and now we take the 0.2. Metacello provides dialect support. This means that, as I told you, it wants to load in Squeak, Faro, and Metacello. Actually, Metacello was developed because Dale Richards was tired of trying to make it seaside, work in Gemstone, and so he created Metacello, and the first configuration he did was seaside, where he wanted seaside to be running in Faro and Squeak so that you can communicate to Gemstone and develop. And you need also install it in Gemstone when you want to deploy. So the way that Metacello gives us to manage it with dialect support is with this. We can specify, as I show you today, for common, I mean for everybody, this, because for everybody in this case, the repository of grids is the same, the grid score is needed for all of the cases, the test score is also required, and it also depends on grid score, so this is common to everybody. But grids has some integration, yes, But Greece actually needs another package that it depends on the dialect. Because actually Greece, it's a project that lets you to build portable smalltalk. So you need a specific package for dialect. So if we are in Faro, we need also to load these packages, and this package depends on core. And this is in Shemstone. For Shemstone, I need this package, Greece Shemstone core, that depends on Greece core. But what is important here, I can put whatever I want. And it's not just dependencies management. I can do whatever I can do also here. So if the repository change for Shemstone, I can come here and put shemstone.com, etc. Okay, so you can customize as much as you want. Okay, discard changes. So now we will do a version 0.3, but I think it's the same as the 0.2, but it used the baseline 0.3. So we will see the baseline 0.3, and this is the same. We have nothing new here, but here we just add to show you that you can add as much as packages as you want. So for example, Shemstone has its own tense, and that depends on Greece test core. Faro has its own test that depends on Greece test core, etc. I think the idea it's clear. Okay, and the version 4 is the same, and we will see the baseline. In this baseline, we have a couple of new things. No, I will skip this one because it's confusing. Then in this baseline, we use a specific method that it's called include, and include just try to break the order of the packages that are being loaded, but it will be more confusing than what it can help you. So I will avoid that. In baseline 5, and this is the last one, so don't worry, we have just some few new things. First, we have defining what is called groups, because it's usually that not everybody needs the same packages to work. For example, for Greece, I would just load the core, and Greece also supports Slime, which is another packages, and that depends on the refactoring browser because it uses the lint rules, etc. So maybe if I am in Faro, I would like to load everything. And maybe if I am in Shemstone or Squid, I just want the core, or I want just the core one without the test, or I want both. Or if I have a Metacello, I want just the Metacello core or the Metacello Y also, or etc. If I am in the Magma database, I may want the client or the server or both, or etc. So you can define groups, or you can group packages as you want. And then, of course, at the load time, you are able to say load this specific group of this specific package. In this case, we define 3 easy groups. The first one, we use default. And the default, when we use the version and the method load alone, the load will load the default version. So if you want to specify a particular version, a particular package, or a particular group, you need to use the method load that receives an array of possible things. It can be groups, packages, mix of them, whatever. We will see an example after. Okay? So in this case, we say that the default is core. Actually, I usually put core and test, because if for my project I want that people that download my project download core and test, so to be sure that they run the test before committing. But that's at the developer, up to the developer.
You
so
can put the groups in the array.
Yes, you can put groups or packages, so you can put whatever you want. You can mix. Actually, there is a little problem if the names collide. Yes. So be careful if you put the same name for group and package, because. So in this case, I define the core, and it has this, the test, only this. But if you see now, oops, sorry. I don't know what it was. Yes, I know. So for Faro, for example, I added the package that we saw in the previous examples, and here, for example, I do something that is also new. A post load do it, and Metacello provides me to be able to run code after or before loading, or a package or a project. In this case, I am saying that after loading this package, evaluate this method. Okay? And this method, of course, it's implemented in this class. You can also send a class block as parameter. And the same, you can have pre-load do it, and you can also have it at configuration level, because it's maybe not for a package, but for the whole project. For example, if I load Omni Browser, I want that the post load sets the Omni Browser as the default system windows. So I can do that, or open a work page explaining how to use the browser, or put in the license, or whatever you want. So for example, I can just come here outside a package and I can say spec, post, etc. And do something. Okay? Good. So we have post and pre-load do it for packages and for configuration level. And now we have something important. I told you that until this point we saw dependencies between packages of the same project. Okay, we saw the dependency between packages that are internal to Greece. So Greece code depends on blah blah blah, etc. But we didn't depend on an external project. But this is very, very common. For example, Omni Browser depends on refactoring browser, CSI depends on Greece, etc. So in this case, I told you there is a specific packages for Greece that is called Slime. But Slime depends on refactoring browser. So what I do, it's a project reference. It's not that I depends on a packages, but I depends on a project. So I can do this, and with this, I am saying, okay, I'm depend on this project where the configuration class is this one, and I want to load this. Here I can send the same as I can send to the load. I mean, packages, group arrive with packages and groups, etc. Just what you need. And then you said the package's name and the repository. Because if I want to load now Slime also, Metacello will check if this class is already present, and if not, download from this repository this package that has this class, and it will say to the configuration, load this. Okay? But notice that here it won't load only refactoring core. It will load all what the configuration of refactoring browser says that is needed for refactoring core. I don't know what is refactoring core. Maybe just one package, but maybe not. Maybe refactoring core depends on AST. So I don't need to put all this information here. The only thing is, okay, I need refactoring core. Okay? And this is quite useful to reuse project configurations, because other different configuration can use the same configuration. So for example, shout is reused by different configurations, or grease is reused because several projects that use grease. So one configuration of grease is useful for different other configurations.
But you could create some circularity, right?
Yes, exactly, and there is a circularity detector.
Okay.
They ask the same in the ISUG talk, and that's. So I told you here it's grease Slime, that is the package that now depends on refactoring core, and this is why we need to load refactoring core. And we can also notice that here, remember that we are all inside Faro, because for example Slime works only in Faro now, and here I add to the core these packages that were not set inside the common. So if I am in Faro, the core will load the grease core plus the grease furrow core and the grease slime. Right?
So it adds the
packages to the ones defined in the common.
yes, it doesn't override.
No. And the same for the test. And in Shapestone, it's the same. Shapestone does not, slime doesn't work in Shapestone, so it just adds the test and the particular packages for Shapestone, like it was doing previously, and we just create the groups. Okay, it's clear? Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to show you for the tutorial, it's all the possible things where if I am, for example, I can do this, and this will load the default version, the default group for this version. Okay, this will load the group called test. In this version, this will load the grease core. This will load an array of the groups core and the group test. Here I am saying an array with a group, but a package with a particular package, etc. So as you can see, it's flexible. And there are two important versions that are being deprecated or changed in new versions of Metacello, but I won't be deep here. That is the latest version and last version. Last version answers the last defined version in the configuration, and latest version, the last version that is not in development or broken. Because when I define a version, I can put a specific blessing. So for example, this is still in development, so I put development, and it's not a release. So latest version won't take into account development blessing, for example, so that you can maybe download stable versions. And
What are the different blessings you can have in the version?
actually, you can put whatever you want, but there are some that are used for Metacello. One is broken, development, for example. Those two are ignored by latest version. And the baseline, it's important to put for the baselines, for example.
So, but is there a way to browse them? Or
Yes,
what are the-
yes, exactly. You can query. For example, you can ask the versions, or to a specific version, you can ask the groups, for example, or to a specific version, you can ask all these things.
Yeah, I was. Is there a way to know that broken is a blessing that is used by Metacello? Which are the ones that
Yes,
are used by?
no, I think it should be maybe it's documented somewhere that I am not aware of.
Okay.
Okay, this is most of the tutorial, but I wanted to show you something else that I forgot, and I think it's quite important. Let me do it in 1 second. If I have this baseline, I told you that we were using the project refactoring core, okay? If I want to create a version for this, suppose I forgot to do it, sorry, and I won't put here a spec package because it's not a package. I define it as a project. So in this case, I should put spec project, and I would say see.
I can see. There.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So I can say refactoring browser, and what should I put here?
The version number
Of what?
of the configuration.
Exactly. So I can put
Project.
the project,
Yeah.
not the package.
The package. Yes.
Okay. So here, suppose I am used for this version 0.5 of Grease. I need refactoring browser 1.2 to say something. But notice the difference between this and this. Here I am defining version for the packages of this project, and here I am referring to a project, and I'm saying a Metacello version. Okay? Okay, that's pretty all. I just wanted to tell you the current state of No, this is bad. I think we are now in 28.1 or something like that. Metacello, it's almost released. It wants to be released probably at the end of the year. Nowadays there are approximately 100 configurations in this particular repository. This repository is like a public repository where people can publish their configuration so that everybody can use. The recommended approach is that people commit their own repository first to their own repositories, and once that they release and once that it's working, you commit it also to the Metacello repository. And with this, people can browse the repository and be able to load the project. The future, okay, 1.0 will release it soon. Some validations that are not really done, and when you try to load, you have errors, and so you need to some validations. This was already done. Then I cannot go into it now because it's already the time. But if someone is interested outside, I can explain you. But one feature that it's lacking in Metacello right now is to be able to map Metacello versions to Faro or Gemstone or Squeak versions. So for example, for Faro 1.1, I know that I have to use Grease 1.6. And for Faro 1.2, I have to use Grease 2.5, for example. So the idea that automatically, when you are in Faro, automatically loads the version that was defined to be stable in that particular Faro or Squeak or Gemstone version. So this was already developed, but we are finishing the last details. That's all. Here is the website if you want to check. There's an online tutorial and there's an image-based tutorial that it's no more than 1 hour, and I think it's very good. I wrote a chapter and Dale and Stefan Dugas review it, and you can download it for the Faro by example does. And of course there are a lot of tests that if you're interested you can take a look. And that's all. Thank you.
When you say about future world, is there a user interface planned to build that method you say?
Yes, there are two kind of user interface. One for the developer. That I don't want to write all that by hand, and there are two works that are available. One is from Metacello itself. It's called Metacello OB. Because it's built using Omni browser, and it lets you, for example, spawn a new version and automatically load the last one from etc. And I ask you the number of the version with a pop-up and the timestamp and the author and etc. It's done automatically. And on the other hand, for the user's point of view, there's a little tool that Torsten wrote for Faro, that it's already integrated in Faro 1.2, but I don't like it very much because we still have the problem that users do not know which version they have to load for each Faro version. But once this is solved, and actually it was the case because 1 week ago they did it, we want, my own idea, but this is maybe will not be the case, is just to use the same Metacello browser. Because if we can, if you can just implement a class-side method, for example, load stable that just checks where you are in and load the latest version associated for that Faro version, for example. And with the load of the Metacello browser will work. But there are more things related because we want to have different repositories for each Faro or Gemstone version. For example, we already create the Metacello repository 1.0, Metacello repository 1.1, etc. So when you are developing a configuration, you commit to Metacello repository 1.1, and in that commit, you just add a class-side method that says load stable, for example. And we also want to do a bulk copy of all the versions of all the packages to copy to the repository, so that you know that in 10 years after you will be able to reload it. Because sometimes people remove packages from the repository, and if they remove packages, even if you have the configuration, it will break. So they need to be self-contained. So we copy everything, and you are sure that you will be able to redo that the same in 5 years ago. The file of the VBash now is built this way. It's doing with configuration. You can take the same file core and rebuild the same dev image. Working like that. Okay. Thank you.